Nintendo Switch 2 or PlayStation Portal? Which one is actually worth your cash in 2026? Believe it or not, this is a question I get asked an awful lot, and the amount of times I get asked this has increased massively since Sony has announced that they are stopping physical game production in 2028. So let's take a little look and a chat about this dedicated hybrid Switch 2 console versus the ultimate couch companion, the PlayStation Portal, as I've owned both of these since launch, so I can give you the real honest answer. Let's jump straight into the numbers here because it's very important. You might be on a budget and can only afford so much, so why beat about the bush here? First off, the Portal will cost you £220 in the UK, $219 to be exact, and $249 in the US. The Switch 2 is pretty much double that price. It is $450, jumping to $500 on September the 1st. So depending on when you're watching this and you decide you want a Switch 2, use our links down below and buy one right away. Save yourself $50. But there's a bit of a catch here because that is the sticker price which you'll pay from the store. But in my opinion, to get the most out of both of these devices, you actually need their subscription services, which adds on an additional monthly fee. So for the PlayStation Portal, you definitely need PlayStation Plus Premium. There's no two ways about it. It just adds so much more to the device. Even with a PS5, I have a PS5 and a Pro and the Portal. Premium unlocks so many features to make this more of a standalone device. So if you don't have a PS5 console in your house, you definitely need PlayStation Plus Premium. There's no two ways about it because the device will do absolutely nothing without it. That's not an exaggeration. You need PlayStation Plus Premium to stream games from the cloud game catalog, from your owned games digital library, so it is a must-have. Now the Switch 2 is a little bit of a different story, but I'll explain why. The Switch 2 has Switch Online plus expansion pack, which is far cheaper than PlayStation Plus Premium's yearly subscription. It is like a third of the price or something like that. And it is required to unlock some of the features which I think are really good and worthwhile on the Switch 2. Number one is if you want to do game chat, say you're playing Mario Kart, you want to see your friends' faces above the little characters and talk to them using the dedicated chat button which is on here, you need a Nintendo Switch Online subscription. And then for the expansion pack part also, that gives you access to GameCube games, which is an awesome retro library which they just keep adding to. There's some absolute classics on there. Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time's coming to it soon, Super Mario Sunshine, just so many good games. I love playing, for example, Soul Blade on there, or Soul Calibur. I always call it Soul Blade. Anyways, they're all on there. It's a great way to play GameCube games. You can also pick up the GameCube controller, which I recommend. It is awesome. But this is a Switch 2 exclusive, but it is behind that paywall, unfortunately. So you need to get the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack to access this. However, never pay full price for either subscription. That is a fool's game. Whether it's PS Plus or Switch Online, just don't ever pay full price. Trust me, I'll tell you why. By dedicated PSN and Nintendo eShop wallet top-ups, load them to your account and stack your subscriptions for way less. It'll save you a ton of money. Today's sponsor, Iniba, makes this effortless. They're a trusted marketplace with an excellent Trustpilot rating, so just scan the QR code on screen or click the exclusive links in the description and the pinned comment below to grab the cheapest wallet top-ups around. Snag game bargains as well, like Ion Fury for £5 on the Switch. I'm picking that one up right now. This is the smart way to get the most out of your devices without spending a fortune. Make sure you click my links as it helps out the channel massively and also will exclusively take you to the best prices available right now for Nintendo Switch and PlayStation Wallet top-ups. Now these devices are kind of similar by being handhelds, but they're very, very different. So let's talk about ergonomics and comfort of these things, because if you're going to be using them handheld pretty much all the time, which you can only do with the Portal, I guess, that is really important. And the PlayStation Portal is basically a full-size DualSense controller split in half with proper console-sized grips, got that lovely textured feel, it's got the amazing haptics and adaptive triggers, which just make it just an incredible handheld experience, and the comfort is next level for long couch sessions. This thing is probably the most comfortable handheld device I've ever used. It is that good. Obviously this shape makes it, I would say, less portable for taking out and about, but just sitting about in the house, you know, being an extension of your PlayStation 5, or if you're just streaming games from the cloud, it is super comfortable. You can play this for hours until the battery completely conks out on you and your hands won't be cramping up. The Switch 2, however, is a big upgrade from the first Switch, let's not lie here. It's bigger and better, so it's got bigger, more comfortable Joy-Cons, purely because they are bigger, with magnetic rails, which are just like witchcraft, how they connect to the device. It's really, really cool. But it is still basically a flat slab straight out of the box. And you can probably see in my video, I've got grips on it. So I swear by the dbrand kill switch case. It makes this thing so much more comfortable. I mean, look at that. It's so ergonomic when you put these on it. I thoroughly recommend it, and I'll leave links down below in the description to everything we talk about in this video for you to pick up, because it will help you out. And that makes a huge difference. But straight out of the box, you know, I would give the win there to the Portal, but there is a big caveat here. And this has happened to me, and that is the Portal sticks can fail. So on this device here, which is my launch device, the right stick does not look up and down anymore, which is annoying. So I only play like certain games on it where I can use the D-pad or whatever, for example. When that happens, if you're out of warranty with Sony, you're screwed. They don't want to know about it. That's what happened to me. I was like a month or two out of warranty, and it was just, you're out of warranty, tough luck. So I bought another one. I actually had ordered another one anyway, the Midnight Black edition, which was coming. So I got that. But it's something to bear in mind, because if that happens to you on the Switch 2, you're in luck. Let's just put it that way, because the Joy-Cons are not, you know, solidly attached to this as a single unit. You can disconnect them just by clicking a little button and they'll magnetically pop off. So if you do get joystick drift on this, you can just buy new Joy-Cons and click them on and you're sorted, you're good to go. But overall, comfort and ergonomics, the Portal is going to get the win here. It has to. It is so comfortable to play, and I recommend, I've also got these dbrand thumb grips on, just make the sticks a little bit bigger as well, a little bit more comfortable. It's absolute perfection sitting about playing games. Now let's talk about the actual hardware, because this is where it gets kind of juicy and very interesting, as it's local rendering of games versus streaming of games. The Switch 2 runs everything natively. So you can be on a plane, on a train, on a boat, just in the middle of nowhere with no internet connection, and your games will just play. So many of the games as well, like the first party games, they can play direct from the cartridge without even an update, which is amazing. The Portal, however, is 100% streaming dependent. Even if you're using remote play to a PlayStation 5 console or streaming from the cloud, you need a solid Wi-Fi connection which is not congested. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time. I'm lucky, I've got great internet, so it runs pretty much flawlessly for me. I've had a great experience. The only thing I swear by is having my PlayStation 5 connected via an Ethernet cable. I think that makes a huge difference. Some of you can't even do that because your router or modem may be in a completely different room from your PS5. So you definitely need to check all that out, because no good internet connection means no good gaming. It's that simple. You'll have pixelated images, it will disconnect, it will do your head in, and you will not have a good time. Also, the Switch 2 has a lot of flexibility in how you can play it. It's pretty much a 3-in-1 device, if we're being honest. So the Switch 2 does handheld mode, obviously. You can just use it as a dedicated handheld, carry it wherever you like, play it wherever you like. It is fantastic. Tabletop mode, where you've got a little kickstand at the back. You can set it up, you know, pull out the kickstand, set up the screen, disconnect the Joy-Cons, and you've basically got a portable couch co-op machine. You can give one of your Joy-Cons to a friend or family, and you can play a co-op game or a fighting game against each other right there and then. It's really fantastic. It's really opens up the possibilities for playing games out and about with this thing. And then you have also got the TV mode when it's docked. You can put it in its dock and play games up to 4K 60 on your, your plasma TV or your LCD TV, your OLED TV, whatever it is. It is amazing. The Portal though, it's handheld only. Keep that in mind. When it comes to the screens, they've both got beautiful screens. The Portal has an 8-inch 1080p 60Hz LCD, which I think is one of the best looking LCDs I've seen on a handheld device. The colours are really vibrant, it really pops. It's not OLED, but it looks really good. The Switch 2 has a 7.9-inch 1080p LCD with HDR10 and 120Hz VRR, so you can get high refresh rate gaming. You can play a game up to 120 frames per second on it if the game supports it. That's usually just Switch 2 games. The Switch 2, it also supports your Bluetooth headphones. The Portal restricts you to a 3.5mm headphone jack or proprietary PlayStation Link headsets or earbuds, which are very expensive. That would then cost you pretty much again the same price as the Switch to get wireless audio on your PlayStation Portal. The Switch 2, it also supports 3.5mm cabled headphones. You can just plug them in if you want to go that way. What about the batteries on these? Because if you are taking them as portable devices, how do they last? Well, this honestly varies a lot depending on your configuration and what games you're playing. So on the Portal, I find it's between 3 and 5 hours, and you're just decoding a stream. You're not running anything on the device, so it doesn't matter the game you're playing on the Portal. It does matter how you've got the Portal configured though, like your screen brightness, your haptic feedback, your light bars. You can tweak all of these kind of things and it'll make a big difference. The Switch 2, I would say it's between 2 to just over 4 hours, depending on your game type. Really visually intense 3D games will drain it a lot quicker. So I always recommend having a battery pack nearby, and I'll leave some suggestions down below in the description, as it's a must-have if you're playing this out and about on the go, so you don't run out of juice. So who wins out of these? The verdict for me is the Switch 2 definitely dominates the hardware and the whole versatility side here. This is the winner, big time. Now when it comes to game libraries and ownership, it gets really interesting here. The Portal is the ultimate backlog clearer for busy, parents, gamers that are short in time like me. You can chop away at your big cinematic AAA PS5 games backlog from your bed, from the sofa, when the TV's in use, whatever. It is fantastic for that. The Switch 2, I think, is great for quick 15-minute bursts of games, like Star Fox and Splatoon Raiders. Plus, the heavy hitters are now supported on the Switch 2 as well, as it does have the power. So you can get your Cyberpunk 2077s and your Resident Evil Requiems on the Switch 2 as well, and they run fantastically. So it's not just all about the amazing Nintendo exclusive games on the Switch anymore. Third-party support is absolutely there. So these both have their access to certain types of exclusives, which is totally up to your own preference, and only you know which games you prefer. However, what about actually owning your games? Well, remote play, this will work with your physical discs if you have a PlayStation 5. That's how I play my Portal mostly. I just pop the disc in my PS5 and I'll play my way through that game. That's great, you can do that. However, if you are traveling out and about, you then are basically stuck with that game in your PS5. If you're away from your PlayStation console, you can't, switch it. If you're just in the other room, that's fine. You can just get up and change the disc, no problemo. But if you're away traveling, you're kind of stuck with that. And that's why this definitely needs the cloud streaming capabilities, which PlayStation Plus Premium gives it. And Sony's pushing this all digital future by 2028, which is just very anti-consumer in my mind. Gamers need format choice here, and actual ownership of whatever they buy. Physical ownership on the Switch 2. Physical carts remain yours even offline. And I've had so many games, even Cyberpunk 2077, which is like the complete edition, which shocked me. You can put it in and with no updates and it will run straight from the cart right there. I just did it the other day as well with Star Fox and with Splatoon Raiders. So that's really cool. That's the way physical games should be for me. Everything on Switch 2 is not perfect though, let's not kid ourselves, because there is these third party, I say third party because it's mostly them that are using game key cards, which is basically a physical cartridge, comes in the box, and it's just a download token to download your game. However, it is way, way better than code in a box, which Sony's going to be pushing. Why is that? Well, with the game key card, you can then sell it. You could return it if you don't like it. You can lend it to a friend. You can pass it down to friends and family, whatever you like. It's still something you own, and the game is tied to that little plastic cartridge instead of you claiming a code and then it's tied to your account and you can do nothing with it. And Nintendo still sells nearly 50% of their software physically, and they're probably going to be the last holdout for physical games, so that is a big thing for me, and it might be for you. Let me know in the comments. You might not care, and that's cool, but I do think we should have options between buying physically and buying digitally as we get the best of both worlds, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother video, so I'm not going to say anything more on that topic. I will just say it is a buzz getting an actual physical little game. The wee cases look so cool on the Switch, popping it open, firing the cartridge in, and you're away, which is just awesome. So who would I say wins out of that? So for game libraries, it's actually a tie, but if you're talking about actual ownership, the win needs to go to the Switch there. Definitely Switch 2 takes it big time. They're very different. I mean, you've got about 3,000 games you can stream to this. They're obviously not all good games, but having access to all those games to stream, if you've got a good signal, it's awesome. And from, a portable aspect, some of you might be asking, well, what if I take it out of my house? I've taken this out of my house plenty of times. I've used it on hotel Wi-Fi. That's hit or miss depending on what the hotel's Wi-Fi is like. And the most stable connection I use when I'm out and about is my iPhone. I just connect this to the iPhone as a wireless hotspot, and it uses 5G, and it is awesome. There's no worries with that. You just have the games downloaded onto your system or on the cartridge, and you can play them absolutely anywhere. Unfortunately, the Portal can't download anything, so you always need an internet connection. This one you don't. One thing to note is that the visuals on the Portal, if you have a great connection that is, will look better than the Nintendo Switch 2 because the Switch 2 has got weaker hardware than a PlayStation 5 console, and it is the PlayStation 5 console versions of games that are streamed to the Portal via the cloud. And if you have a PlayStation 5 Pro, for example, you can stream via remote play those versions of the games to the Portal. Just one thing to note, but on a smaller screen, the gap is closed a lot and it may not bother you too much. And another big thing I forgot to mention is actually the latency. Because things are running on the Switch 2 hardware, there is no latency or lag you need to worry about, whereas with the Portal, depending on your internet connection, there will be, and there always will be, a small element of that. So if you are playing more kind of competitive, fast twitch games like first-person shooter games, the Switch 2 would be better suited for that than a PlayStation Portal. Let's give an honest verdict here and round this up. Who is the Portal for? I would say existing PS5 owners with great home Wi-Fi who want a dedicated second screen when the TV is busy. This thing is the must-buy to go to. It's fantastic. I love it. I have 3 of them, so that tells you all you need to know. Who's the Switch 2 for? Anyone who's wanting a true standalone take anywhere console with permanent game ownership and zero Wi-Fi anxiety. This one is the way to go. What about if you don't own a PlayStation 5 and you're considering the Portal? Well, there is a big distinction here with the subscriptions. Switch Online is recommended for this. I recommend it, but it is totally optional to play your games. You don't really need it. You need it to play, online multiplayer the same way the Portal and PlayStation implement free-to-play games on both of these. You don't need it. Switch Online, it's recommended, but it's not required. The Portal requires subscriptions and fast internet to be the gaming machine it can be. So that's 2 additional costs which will be ongoing, which you need no matter what if you pick up a PlayStation Portal and you don't own a PS5. So bottom line then, out of these 2, the Switch 2 is a smarter, more versatile overall buy. The Portal is the best accessory you can buy for the PlayStation 5. And if you want to know more about the Switch 2, make sure you subscribe to my Nintendo channel, which is called Tendo. I'll put the little image up on screen and it'll be linked down below. And if you want more PlayStation content and more Portal content, make sure you subscribe right here to Pure PSX.